Welcome to LifeConnect, where we discuss various life issues. My name is Vivian Omari. Today we are joined by Joseph Njoroge. He is the senior elder of Life Reformation Centre. He's also a father of 3 boys. Very welcome today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
so our discussion today is on parenting. And maybe we can just begin by talking about the biblical view on parenting.
I think the starting point is to say that the founder, the designer of parenting is God. He is the source. He is the architect of parenting.
Yeah.
Because after creating man, that is Adam and Eve, God gave them children. And then after that, we can see the whole issue of the population of the earth is through the birthing of children, God giving children.
Yeah.
And then we have at various times God describing and explaining to us how he expected the parenting to be done. And though there are many definitions of parenting, I think the first thing that we start is to define it and say, when we talk about parenting here from the biblical view, we are talking of a responsibility that has been given by God to the parents, a man and a wife, or a husband and wife, or a man and a woman. And they are given this responsibility to bring up a child to a certain place of destiny that is predetermined by God. In other words, when God is bringing this child belongs to God. As much as it belongs to both of you, a husband and wife, mother and father, as much as this child belongs to you, the biblical view is the child is given to you by God. If the child is given to you by God, the child belongs to God. Those are basic positions that we must be able to embrace and believe in. That this child has been given by God has also a predetermined destiny. God has a plan for this child. And part of the plan that God has is actually to place these children or this child in our hands, a husband and wife, to bring up this child, to nurture this child, to walk along this particular child until this child comes to his or her ordained position of destiny. Parenting, therefore, becomes like stewardship, where you are entrusted with somebody else's resources, and you are supposed to give an account on how you have done that work. In this case, I want to take parenting as a mission that is given by God to a man and a woman, a husband and wife, and they are given this responsibility to nurture this child, because at the beginning this child is really can't do anything, entirely and fully in your hands, doesn't know anything, and therefore you mold this particular child, you build this particular child as a responsibility that is given to you by God, and you be answerable. And that's why you can go to God and ask God for wisdom on how to bring up this child. You can go back to God and ask Him for resources to bring up this child, because this child essentially belongs to God. And so when you talk about the biblical view of parenting, we are talking of a responsibility given by God, a mission entrusted to us by God. We are talking of a process of walking alongside the path of growth of a child until they come to their place of destiny. That's what I would consider as the biblical view of simple parenting.
Simple parenting. So therefore, beyond all the plans we make as humans saying, I want 2 children, I want, I'd like 3. God is at the center, and there's accountability to Him, so that therefore it's not just, progression in life. So you get married, and in society, you are expected, the next flow is to flow into parenting. And then, life moves on after that. So I think that's very interesting. And I'm just thinking about this whole accountability, therefore. So as a parent, to do it well, because there are different, can I say views or styles on how to do it well. So there are those who say, if you want children to become, to grow up well and become good children, become their friend. As you bring them up, become their friend. Don't spare the rod. Make sure they know who is in charge. Or, children are just to be seen, and then your views, we don't want to hear them, and there are those who say, run this like a military camp. If I say go, we are going. And so there are different views on how, at the end of that journey, the product would be good. I don't know what your view is on that.
There has been all kinds of books written on how best parenting should be done. Some people will say, be a friend to your children.
Yeah.
Other people will say, spare the rod, you spoil the child. So, and so that's how some of us were brought up. I was being beaten by my father. I remember we were about quite a number of us.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the principles my father used. In other places we have a democratic environment where children have the way. They decide what they want. Whichever way that people talk about. All kinds of books have been written. But I think my view is totally different from all those. I want to see parenting as a spectrum that has got many colors. We normally say a rainbow has got 7 colors. None of those colors is more important than the others in the completeness of a rainbow. And so all those colors are important.
Yeah.
Now, if you take 1 or 2 of them and you think they are the ones you are going to use, you will not be able to have a full description of what a rainbow is. And so I want to consider parenting as that rainbow, those many colors.
Yeah.
Let me start with the first one, the issue of friendship. I don't like using the word friendship in parenting.
Yeah.
And that's because this is my son. If you go back to God, God says about Jesus, and He is saying, this is my beloved son, in whom I am well pleased. By the time God is saying that, Jesus had not done anything. He has not even started going to do ministry. He even didn't have the first disciple. He had not done the first miracle.
Yeah.
So really, God is happy with him just being a son. When I talk of a son, I have 3 sons. And one of them is called, let's say, Samuel. Samuel is my son. He is my beloved son. Inside that statement is a line of friendship. But if you just describe my relationship with him as friendship, you completely dilute, the intensity of that relationship and the dynamics of that kind of a relationship. You can be my friend. But I can't say this is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased. When I'm saying that, I'm going beyond a certain boundary. But within being a beloved son, is a friendship line inside there.
Yeah.
It's just one of the lines. The issues of loving this particular person, being impressed by this particular son without or daughter. There's nothing that he needs to do to please me. I just love this particular child. I just take this child as a gift given to me by God. The moment you bring it like that, the friendship is inside, but it's not friendship where there is no responsibility. And so you are my friend. As my friend, I want to please you. Yes, I want to please my son. I want to please my daughter. But I want to have responsibility aspect inside that desire to please him or to please her. There is a sense of responsibility that will make me say, no, we will not go that way. And sometimes I will also, within that love of my son, love of my daughter, there is a way that I'll also take some level of responsibility that he may not even understand. And sometimes I will say, no, you can't understand this now, but this is the way we go. So at that moment, I know I don't have his approval in terms of I have agreed, because he has no capacity to do that. I give you an example of Abraham, who is our father. He's taking this boy, and they are discussing, they are going all along for 3 days. Abraham knows clearly, I'm going to put a sword on you, but I can't tell you. Yet I love you, but I have a God here who is your owner. God owns this. God owns Isaac. God gave me Isaac. And therefore, I'm listening to God, and God is telling me, offer your son Isaac to me. Now, that's a higher level than a place I can discuss with this son or daughter at a particular time. And therefore, we go all along, and we come to the end, and I say, he's asking me, where is the lamb of the sacrifice? And I say, well, God has said, you are the lamb. That is the true point of testing parenting, where I am going to tell my son, you are the lamb. And that is only going to happen if I have been training this child from beginning. And so when I tell the child, God has said, what does it mean to this particular child? Now, it is that understanding that God has said that now causes this particular child to align, not because something is good, and that is the true testing of parenthood. How much Abraham has brought up Isaac. You know, every time we are looking at this particular situation where Abraham is sacrificing Isaac, I know we are called all glory to Abraham, which is good. And we all say Abraham loved God, yes. But there is one aspect that normally doesn't come out very clearly. That this boy is a teenager. He can run away. But the fact that Abraham is telling him, you are the lamb. This is what God has said. That is a place that shows, what have you done? What have you invested in terms of parenting in this particular child? And therefore, one of the commendations that I normally see in that whole process is effective parenting by Abraham that makes Isaac to be able to corroborate with the process when the time comes or when the need arises for him to be able to corroborate. Not because it's pleasing to him, but because God really has spoken. And this boy knows who is God. To me, that is very important. And so I do not believe in those styles that people talk about. To me, there is only one style of bringing up children, the one given by God. When God gives you a child, God knows the character, God knows everything about that child. God knows the need of that child. And therefore, one of the things that we normally say is that as a parent, you don't know how to parent. That's where we start. I don't know how to parent. That's where we start. Nobody knows how to parent.
Yeah.
Even if you have the first boy, the first child, the second child, you think the third one, you know how to parent. I always advise parents that the starting point of parenting is to say, I don't know how to parent. And because you don't know, you will seek to know from the owner. Because the way I parented my first son is different from the second son, because they are different human beings. And therefore, it calls for parents to ask God, what do you want? And to me, that's the only way to parent.
Yeah.
To get from God instructions concerning how to parent this child. And God may tell me, this is what you do with this child. This is what you do with this child. And this is what you do, because you can't use one formula for different human beings. Because you realize some human beings you don't need to be rough. Some of the boys or girls, some of them you look and say, I'll be rough in this particular place. And that's where we say you are listening to God. Because God is the one who has a design of that parenting. Remember, it's a responsibility given by God.
Yeah.
And therefore, the resource for parenting comes from God. If you don't do that, you will go to the world. And the world will give you philosophies of how to parent. They will tell you, make the child your friend.
Yeah.
But the child has no capacity, has no enough knowledge to know what it takes to be a friend. Doesn't know the weight that a friend needs to carry. And again, also the type of friendship that I am going to have with my child has not grown to a time of taking responsibility. Because when you talk of friendship, there is responsibility from both sides.
Yeah. It's two-sided.
And so when you are telling me that you find there are some deficiencies in that particular kind of a statement. And so my view is, God gives me a child, and it is actually creating a demand of me going back to God to ask, how do I do this? I'm praying for this child and I'm asking God, God, give me wisdom. How do I bring up that child? If I want to bring my second child the way I brought up my first child, you are going to realize that there are two different human beings. And their responses to some things I do are totally different. This one will respond positively and change. This one may rebel. And that's why you can't say that you have gone to write a book and have one formula on how to be able to take care of this particular child.
Yeah.
I believe the children are given to me by God, or to us as parents by God. And it puts a load and a burden on the parents to go back to God for every one of the child on daily basis to ask God, tell me, what is it? So every child you have, it's adding another paragraph of prayers on you on daily basis to know exactly what you need about this particular child. But if you think you are going to have a menu, or let's say, a process on how to do parenting, and somebody writes what he did, the children he brought up are not your children. And you are going to find that they are totally different. And the destiny ordained by God for each one of them is different. And the process God wants each one of them to pass through is totally different. And the way God wants to reveal himself to them could also be very, very different. And the path of each is very different. Now, with all those, variables, it will be difficult for you to say one particular formula that you are going to use to bring up children. Yeah. That's why I really don't believe in those different styles of parenting that people want to write this, want to write this. The issue is that they are all aspects of a spectrum, and they are all different colors. Because I'll take a rod, and I'm going to to smack my child. And the issue is, it's not that I hate that particular child, but there's some correction that I need to do. But I can't make it a dominant, methodology. Sometimes we'll sit with the child and I'll be happy, we'll be friends, and all, which is good. Sometimes I'll come and say, listen, this is what I'm saying, go to sleep. It is now 9. You have to go to sleep. And the child says, I'm not going to sleep. definitely that's rebellion. And I have to deal with it as early as possible, as I can. But I can't say that every time use a rod, every time be a friend, every time use democracy, every time do this. No. I'll combine all of them.
Yeah.
And I want to listen to God. Which one do you want me to use at this particular time? And every time I listen to parents talk, and especially those who fear God, you will hear them, God telling them something. Sometimes God will tell you, do nothing for now. And you should have acted, but God says, do nothing. And you don't know what that inactivity, that you did not respond by an activity or doing something. And God may use that to put something in that particular child, but you did not know. That's why we also say that parenting is a partnership with God. It's like you are walking alongside God in bringing up this particular child. You are not doing it alone. Is not your child first. Is God's child first. And actually, he has only delegated the authority of parenthood, of motherhood to you, or fatherhood to you. And therefore, talk to the owner, and he will always tell you what he wants. And that is the kind of a thing that we encourage the parents to be doing all the time, and to consider as a responsibility that God is bestowing upon me when he gives me a child.
I'm thinking as you're talking, I'm like, okay, so within this broad spectrum, and I'm thinking, just as a parent of two very young children, and the way sometimes children catch you by surprise. So you were doing life a certain way, a certain mood. So practically as a parent, how do you not follow the mood and, like be quick to, within that spectrum, you're flexible to know quickly that, you know what, this is the time for this. Because sometimes you find yourself thinking about maybe how you responded after the fact. After the fact is when you're like, okay, probably roughness here was not the answer, or probably being that friendly here was not right. I should have put my foot down.
You know what I'm saying, Vivian, is the whole idea of when you talk about parenting process as a spectrum, there are all kinds of things that you can be able to do. And I also want to bring this imagery of this is a child that has been given to us by God. And one of the things I've said, or definitions in parenting, is it is a walk alongside this particular child. Let me put it this way. We are walking with this child, and God is walking with us. It's like where God says, I am with you till the end. In other words, on this journey of life, God is with us. The reason of bringing that is to add this one factor, that we learn parenting as we go along. And parents will make mistakes. And you don't condemn yourself because you make mistakes, because you are also learning. In other words, sometimes you go this way and you find, I should have been rough there. Or, no, I should not have been that rough. And you learn something. And then when you do a mistake, you go to that child and say, you know what? I think I should not have done that. There are people who can never tell their children, I'm sorry about this. I'm sorry. It's like you want to be seen like, well, people are different. But I would tell my child, I'm sorry, I did not act properly here. I beat you too much. I'm sorry about that. I just imagine how I would have responded. One time my father beat me so much. And I would wish he came back and said, I'm sorry, I think I beat you too much. I should have beaten you 3. And I think that would have caused a lot of healing in me by him coming to say that. Or sometimes you discover that the way you have brought your child all along, the child later is now grown up. And they will tell you, I've seen this happening all the time. children is growing and comes to a place is so wounded and so bitter on parents because of the way that parents conducted themselves always. We never talked in our family. Some children are never ever allowed to talk or say anything. They lived in fear. They were always threatened. They were always under stress. And then after that, they don't like the father. They don't like the mother or something. And then the father is not aware. The mother is not aware. And the day they discover, they feel so guilty because it's too late. Now this girl is 18. Now this boy is 18. And I normally tell the parents, fine, you made a mistake. Now your daughter is 18. Your son is 18. And you made all these mistakes. You thought you are correcting them because they read a book somewhere. You spare the rod.
Spoil that child.
So you have been beating them throughout, sometimes without establishing the fact. Sometimes they will not tell you the truth because they are fearing to be beaten. And then you are told of how many times you beat them, and for sure I have not done the thing that you beat me for. And as a parent, you feel guilty. I always encourage the parents, sit down with your children. Sit down with that daughter and say, you know what? I didn't know. I've never parented. I am also learning. And there is nothing wrong for us to understand that we are also learning how to parent individuals, because the way I parented the first one is different from the way the second one is demanding the kind of a parenting. So if I make a mistake, there is nothing wrong in coming and talking to your child when a child comes to a certain level of age and say, you know what, I'm sorry. I did not do what I should have done. I'm sorry about that. And that does a lot of healing when the child really sees you loved that particular person. Parents will do something because they love their children. Sometimes they do something outrageous. I'll give you an example of my own father, me and my own father. My father loves me for sure. I mean, my father will defend me, I don't know to what level. So I come to a time I want to get married. And I marry my wife's come from a certain place. Where, people say that women from that place they beat their husbands. That's the story.
That's it,
And now my father knows that story. And I come and I tell my father I want to get married. He's very happy. The first question is where does the girl come from? I say, well, from a certain county. He's very happy. Say, where in the county? I say a particular place. And my father face turns, and I know when it turns, I know what that means. And my father says, no, all women from that place beat their husbands. And I'm not going to stand here and see my son being beaten. And when you see love of my father. And he opposed my wedding to the wedding day. He refused. He did all kinds of things. And he did all those things. In my understanding, I know. They are outrageous. But the truth of the matter is, he is defending the son. He cannot see the son being beaten by a woman somewhere. My father would resurrect. And so you can see the love. But look at the damage he has done. He did all kinds of public, things that he refused to dress for the wedding. He protested openly. Everybody knew my father is protesting. And they will go thinking he hates that boy. But that's not true. And that is one of the things that many parents do not know how to express love. And they express it the way they know it. They express it the way they think. And as a result of that, it hurts the son, the daughter, the children are hurt by that. Later, when you discover that, the best thing is always good to go back to that daughter and that son and be able to say, I'm sorry. This is the place and the point I was coming from. And you can see, well, my father came from a place where men don't say sorry. And so there is no way he is going to say sorry. But he's going to express it in a certain way by showing that he loves my wife, by showing that I have accepted this, by doing anything that we may want him to do. And then we are able to interpret that and also be able to understand. And that happens very, very much among the parents, where your parents don't know how to express certain things. Or you are expressing something and you express it in the wrong way, and the child gets it in the wrong way. Later in the future, it's always good to talk about it and be able to resolve those particular things.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. As you talk, I'm just thinking about advancing the kingdom of God and the context that the children grew up in. And if you can just elaborate for us some of the components. Because children, will just not grow up, or the parenting, yes, is done by parents, but then there's also a component where others will come in, and there's a place within which this parenting is being done, and how that just encompasses that whole process of, at the end of the day, having the person that God intended, this child to become.
Parenting has a context, and that context is very important. And put in another way, when you are talking about growth of a child, because parenting is supposed to cause growth to a child, because you are nurturing this child, you are facilitating the growth of this particular child. And there are different dimensions of growth of a child. You give food, he grows or she grows in a certain way. You give counsel, and you are talking things, they grow in a certain way. They're in a context of their peers, they grow in a certain way. And so that's why I'm saying, when you talk about growth of a child, that need to be facilitated by the parents need to be aware of the best environment in which these children can grow. Just like plants, the plants need a certain kind of a growth, depending on the kind of a plant that you are going to have. There are some plants that can't grow here. There are some plants that grow in certain environments. And so when you are considering the growth of this particular child, the issue of defining the environment is absolutely important, so that the different dimensions of growth can take place. And so let me start with the components of the environment in which this child needs to grow. One is the social environment, which is the easiest that everybody can be able to see. And that's where you talk about the environment that you create at home. Is it friendly? Is it aggressive? Is it what is it? Is it an environment full of fear? What kind of an environment do you have? And the contributors of that environment basically is your relationship between a husband and a wife. What kind of a relationship do you have? Well, you may try to hide activities that you do outside the children, but you cannot hide the environment. The impact that the aggression you have between you and your husband, that aggression, that kind of animosity you have, you may hide and do it away from the children. But then the impact to the environment can be hidden. Remember this, the children have a spirit in them. And they will be able to capture without seeing with their own eyes those particular things that you are talking about. And so the whole aspect and the whole idea of you creating the kind of an environment, the relationship, you and your husband, is very critical. The other aspect that we talk about, the issue of your relationship, is now your relationship with the children. The kind of reception. How do they feel when they come? Normally, when they are very, very young, normally people don't have a challenge with that. It's when they grow up and the parents they are busy somewhere else, and you want to leave them to be taken care of by somebody else. And they know, they will feel, because they have that feeling that, we are bothered. Because sometimes the children can feel rejection in terms of, not that we don't want you, but you are also being a bother. Something we must be able to avoid to make sure that our children do not capture that particular aspect of feeling that we are a bother. They should feel appreciated. They should be wanted. They should feel, this is home. That environment of the home is very, very important. But then that is only one aspect of the environment. Because there are peers. Children have to play with other children. Now, you have to determine the kind of children that play with your children.
You have to determine.
You have to determine because children are very, very good transmitters of behavior. Your child is a better transmitter of behavior maybe than you. Because they're able to carry it very easily to among other children. And children learn a lot from their peers. And therefore, if, for example, children from that family there, they are not taken care of, nobody cares about them, they are having deficiencies. You take care of your own children, and they're all taken care of. And then you allow them to go and just mix there and live with them. You are going to see transference. And both children are going to respond in a certain way. That child there is going to say, this child is treated better. And you feel like, I'm not really loved. That this child here who is here will say, maybe that one is more free. Maybe it's like something else. It's a foreign thing. That issue of exchange will always be there. And that is why you have to determine the kind of families. And we normally encourage that you are a parent. Determine a number of parents around you where these children can be able to go and play with other children. And that particular number of 4, 5, whatever number of parents that you have around you, some of them have children older, others younger. And that creates a part of the environment in which this child is going to grow. It's good to have some older children that this child can look at. And you are sure that this child, these parents here are aware of the common behavior, of the value system, of the principles of life, of what they are teaching them at home. All of you are aware because as parents, you are friends. As parents, you have something in common that can be able to, you can agree, you talk to one another, you discuss those children, you say, how does that one behave? And that one adds to the environment in which you are bringing up your children. It's like, is a social fence that you are putting around your family. And therefore, this child can say, I see some older children here, and I can learn from them. But also, I see some younger ones here, and you see the child learning how to take care of them, which is very important. And that's another environment that the mother and father can provide. And therefore, there is that aspect brought by those other children, and they are still adding to the environment in which these children are being brought up. Now, the other aspect is where you have other parents that are other parents, not just the father and the mother. And the children know that I can go to that one. They feel free. They can be able to go and find that one, that parent. And you see them running there. When they are in their home, they feel free. And they are able to say things. They are able to discuss things. And what that happens is, one of the benefits of that is when you parents then later meet and gather. And the parents is able to tell you, I saw your son, and this is something I observed. Or you are able to say, I saw your daughter, this is something I observed. And that's where we are talking of the community aspect in parenting, which is very important. Because there are some aspects you may not see. Because the child did not act that way in your presence. But when they went to that particular home, they had a certain level of freedom. And they acted in a certain way. And therefore, there is that community aspect which is very, very important in bringing up these particular children. And therefore, it's almost like you have put a wall in which they can learn as much as possible. Now, what happens when these children grow like this? They learn how to be a boy. They learn how to be a girl in a secured environment, in a governed environment, in a place, in a transparent environment where they can be seen. When they grow well and they are able to have their manhood developed, their womanhood developed, if they can grow well here, you are assured if that child goes outside there, will be able to defend himself, will be able to stand with his own principles. Because we teach the children these things, and when they grow up, they will not depart from that. You know, one time I was making a fun of a good thief. One time, we had this pastor, a friend of mine, was carjacked by some thieves, some fellows. So when they carjacked this pastor, it's a friend of mine. The thief asked the guy who is the boss. There were 3 of them, 2 at the back, 1 here, and him is driving. Was to drive at a gunpoint. But the thief who is in front here, who is the boss, asking this guy, "What do you do?" And the guy said, the pastor said, "Well, me, I'm a pastor. I preach the word of God. Where is your church?" "My church is here, just near. I was just coming from the church." And this thief said, "No, I don't like carjacking pastors. I don't want pen of God. I don't want that." And when the pastor realized that, wait a minute, this guy fears God. He's a thief, yes. He's a carjacker, but he fears God. He's there to take advantage of that. And they would go, and the guy said, "I don't want your car, but I'll stop there. I want to carjack that car." The pastor said, "No, but that is for a member of my church."
Okay.
How will you carjack a car of my member using my car? Don't you think that munaniharibia kazi? So he said, "Okay, let's go." Then you go to another car. "Stop here. I think this is a good car." He said, "No, this is a neighbor. You know, I'm known here. I live here. These people know me." They say, "Okay, let's leave this estate." So they drove the estate. Actually, they came to Gedorai. And when they went to Gedorai, he said, "Well, let's not use this car to carjack other cars. This is a car of a pastor." Those are thieves. But you can really look and see, it's a thief, but there must be something that was taught this guy when he was young. That never went out even when he became a thief. And those are some of the things we are saying. We may not have control of what our children will become. But we want to put something in them, in their hearts, that whatever they will become, this will never leave them. You know, it's like thieves. You know, the 2 thieves that were crucified with Jesus. Let's look at the parenting there. And you are able to see one guy there, I don't think he was given good parenting. But I think one of the guys there, you look at the guy and I don't know what he may have done. He may have done bad things. But you can see that aspect of telling this guy, "Well, don't you understand that this guy has done nothing? As we are here because we deserve to die." And you can see the way this man is speaking. There is an aspect of justice in this particular person. And he feels like, I think it's justified for us to die. But this man has done nothing. And you can see the aspect of parenting. And I look at that image and I say, you don't know what you put in your child when it will save that child. Because I believe it is what was put in the in the heart of that man when he was a child that saved him and saved his life, but down there at the cross, because of that aspect of being just a good human, just a good man, a man that fears God. And you can see where that aspect came to save that man, a time when no one would have expected that guy can be saved with that. So that is just one aspect. I've talked about the social aspect of that. Now, the other aspect of that is the spiritual aspect of that, where we are talking about this child as part of this environment is incomplete unless you make spiritual environment as the spiritual factor as the base of this particular environment. And that is because if we say that this child is from God, that's a spiritual relationship. All right? And it's something that sometimes, it may not be visible, but then it's a very spiritual thing and very basic thing that needs to be put as the baseline, on the baseline of parenting. You know, God talked to Abraham and said, okay, he was talking about Abraham.
Yeah.
And was saying, shall I hide from Abraham what I'm going to do? And he was talking of Abraham becoming great nation. So we are talking of a plan. And he says, I have chosen Abraham to become this and that. And that was to become by him instructing his children, and by him training his children, and by him facilitating the growth of his children, by instructing them the ways of God, not many other things, not the philosophies of where they come from and those other things, but teaching them about God.
Yeah.
And the issue is that when do you start teaching children about God? I remember with our children, we used to go to have what we call conferences, we used to go for meetings, for conferences. And I remember we would be able to carry our children very young. Very young. Not that they would understand, but just to see an environment. And they're in this environment, we carry them, and we're in the conference for 3 days. The conference used to take 3 days. And it's inconveniencing. Sometimes it's cold, but just being there, they're able to grow and sing. And they start from the earliest possible when you think they don't understand. That they grow knowing about prayers. They grow knowing about God. Sometimes you ask them when they knew about God, they will not tell you when. It's like when my parents start talking to me about God, we didn't even know much. The only thing we knew is that there is heaven and there is hell. And we were told by that time, the way to heaven has a lot of, mandazi. Mandazi, this is the, what do you call mandazi now? How do you just call them mandazi? And the issue is that the way to hell has a lot of thorns and a lot of bad things, and you'll be beaten on the way. But this one, there is mandazi and there is tea. And that is because those days, children are not allowed to have tea. And people could not afford a mandazi at all. There's nothing like you affording that. So and I remember our Sunday school teacher telling us, when we go to heaven, there will be a swimming pool of tea. Because, and she couldn't talk about taps because the issue of tap was not there. So he just talk of river of tea or some swimming pool of tea or something of the tea. And you can drink as much as possible. So we actually wanted to go to heaven.
Yes.
To have tea.
For some tea.
And have mandazi. So, but you can see the concept.
Yes.
You may think that the teacher was not teaching the correct thing. But the issue is not the mandazi. The issue is not the tea there.
Yeah.
But the issue is that the value that we have, the good things that are there. These are bad and good. The teacher was teaching the value of good and bad, and there is benefit. There are benefits. There are rewards. If you follow these good things, there are rewards. That's the message.
Yeah.
If you follow this particular path, there are bad ways, there are bad, all kinds of things. And that's how we grew knowing. And you look, we grew with a desire. And I believe that is part of the desire that would make me give my life to the Lord when I was very young in primary school. Because we grew with that kind of a desire. Now, if you say gold to us, who cares? What is gold? I don't know what it is. What we want is tea, which is very rare. Maybe once a year I would have a tea given.
Cup of tea. Yeah.
Cup of tea?
Yeah.
Very little.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even you'll be beaten if you didn't know that, if you are known that you took tea, because it's for grown-ups. It's not for. But when we go to heaven,
you will take as
much as possible. Who doesn't want to go to heaven?
I would want to go to heaven.
So, and that's how we are brought up.
Yeah.
And I'm saying these things because you have to be creative as a parent.
Yeah.
How do you bring up the issues of God?
Yeah.
You can't bring the terminologies that you have there. There must be principles that you are applying. If you do good, there is a reward. You do bad, there are consequences. And these are principles of life, and the child grows knowing this and knowing that God is watching on us. Even where he is not seen, we are not being seen by anybody. God is there. That concept of God. And I can't tell you the formula on how to teach the concept of God to your child, because God has to give you the wisdom and the communication to this particular child. How he or she gets the concept of God from you as a parent. And what we normally say is this: it is very important that the parent be the one to introduce the concept of God to the child, not the Sunday school teacher. Our view is the Sunday school teacher should be the one supporting the parents to enhance what the parents have taught, to enhance what the parents have spoken. And so that spiritual component is very, very important. Now, not beyond knowing God and beyond knowing the things of God, there is the community aspect of it, where this child is in a church setup. That church setup is not only for the people that are there in the community, but then there is something that we call the flow of grace, which actually is something that comes from God to this particular child. There is a structure of the flow of grace that comes from God, that comes to this particular child in a church context. You know, we talked of the social context, where we are talking of the parents discussing and doing all kinds of things to make sure the behavior, the conduct of this child is taken care of. But there is also the spiritual aspect of the community, where there is a spiritual resource that comes to this particular child because of just being part of us here. And therefore, the child grows knowing this is my church setup. And that becomes important. The child knows some activities that are done in the church, some activities related to worship, some activities related to prayers. Those things become very, very important and within the church context. Now, the reason I'm talking of the church context is because they are supposed to give the support to the parents on how to bring up these children, so that these parents you have around here, all of them are able to have a thematic coherence of what our children are learning. And therefore you have what we call village life, which is very important in the development of a child. So you have this village life, and they are talking the current affairs. The current affairs is set by the Sunday school, is set by the church, and they say, this is what we are teaching, this is what we are discussing. And therefore, whichever home they go, that's the topic.
Same thing.
And therefore, your children can grow in a certain orderly manner, and they will be discussing the same topic. And you can monitor the spiritual growth of these children as they are growing through a particular theme that they have. And that's why I'm saying the whole issue of having a spiritual community around you is very important. Many parents think they themselves need the spiritual community. But this child equally needs a spiritual community, because this child has a spirit. And that spirit needs to communicate with God. And that spirit needs to be resourced from God. And therefore we can talk of the flow of God's grace into the life of a child through the parenthood, through the parenting that is coming, that is being entrusted to this particular child. But that particular flow of grace is coming through the church community that God has given to you. Now, all these are different factors within the environment of bringing up a child. Of course, we need to talk about education.
Yes.
That is necessary. That you need to know where is your child going to school. And the reason is because your child has to go to school. Now, the problem we have right now, and I really sympathize with the parents who are bringing up children like you.
Thank you.
I'm praying for you.
Thank you very much.
And the reason is because the environment in the schools is highly toxic. And it has been attacked by systems of the world, some kind of dark systems, and the kind of things we are hearing in schools now, they are so evil. Unfortunately, even our legal system is not helping, because the legal system now is able to to legislate certain aspects and positions that the children need to be, they have this kind of an environment. We have in some countries where the child can decide to be a boy this week or to be a girl next month. And you cannot use certain terms, and it's illegal. There are legislations that support those forces of darkness that are infiltrating our education, our school, so that the child can now say, well, I'm going either to be a lesbian, I'm going to be a gay, and those things have become common discussions now. My view is that we would like to teach those to our own children because they will find it there.
They'll find it.
I would like to teach my child about gayism as something not from God. I would like to teach my child about lesbianism as something against our culture.
Yeah.
Is where I will talk about it when I am talking about our values. Families are about, marriage is about a husband, a man, and a woman. That's where we come from. But the devil has introduced other kind of systems. That's not God. That's not from God. You see it outside there, but it's not from God. What we are really doing is this: we are building that in the life of this child.
Yeah.
And it's being reinforced by that parent. It's being reinforced by the church doctrine.
Yeah.
It's being reinforced in all aspects in a fenced world where we are in. By the time this person goes outside there and finds this kind of a thing that we used to say, that child is going to say, I know you. I was told clearly about you.
Yeah.
You are not from God. And I'm not going to accept you. That child can stand outside there. But you cannot say you are going to build that child when that has already come. It's just like saying you are going to build the ark when the flood has come. You already know you are late. And therefore you must start very early to talk about this, about mommy and daddy.
Yes.
It's like sometimes I have my glad children, they come and ask me questions.
Yeah.
The other day, one of our glad son was asking my wife, why does my dad call you mom? And my wife was saying, because I'm the mother. You see, so are you the mother of my father?
Yes.
And the boy is trying to imagine how that one goes. And then my wife would sit down and say, yes. So, and then the boy wants to know about the relationship and about those. And we sat down and just explaining. Because the boy needs to see you. You are the model. You are the first pattern that was given to him by God. And you are everything that he needs to know at that particular age. Now, remember at that time, this child is here. And you are Alpha and Omega. When you are starting.
Everything.
Yes.
Yes.
As you go, some other infiltrations come from the other side. They start running to their dad. That's the starting point of telling you, you are not Alpha and Omega. I have a dad here. And then after that, they see, oh, I have my glad father here, my glad mom. Or I have a visitor. I have a peer here, a friend of mine here. So they start now sharing the cake. And the cake start going outside. And it's the percentage that used to control continue to diminish. Yes. And by the time you realize that the grip you have is so little, and that's the time you want to teach, then you find you are very late at that particular time. And therefore, you must put as much as you can this particular time, so that by the time those others come, they find that orbit is already taken. That particular space is already filled. And this child has been formed in a certain way. So, briefly, what you are saying is that when you are talking about the spiritual environment, is very critical in the growth of a child. In fact, is the one of the only thing that you need to consider, the environment of this particular child. And then you consider the various factors that are there in the environment. Because there is no one factor that you say is going to be the dominant factor. It's just like, even if the earth, your soil is very fertile and there is no rain, you don't understand, you not harvest.
You won't harvest.
Now, even if there is rain, and then the temperatures go beyond, something happens. Do you understand? You not harvest. So there are all these components of the environment that are very important to be able to be brought in a certain balance. In other words, you cannot say, because so and so is your friend, your child will always be there 5 days in a week. Now that is actually now you are abdicating your responsibility as a parent. That's not the parent.
Yeah.
You are the parent.
I'm the parent.
And therefore this is home. Let the child know this is our home. Trying to make it the best place for the child to come home. That even if he had a problem there, we'll always want to come home. I think we have had cases where children have issues outside there, and they don't want to come their home.
Yeah.
They would like to go to their
To
friends.
somebody else's home, yeah.
And that tells you there's a problem at home. And the parents need to address that. Beating the boy or the girl is not the solution. They are just indicating there is a certain factor within the environment that is not balanced. And you need to check on that so that you can balance all these factors so that the environment is conducive to the growth of this particular child. And the child can be able to grow and become the kind of a human that now can be released to go hunting outside there. And you are sure that child is going to be safe.
Yeah. It is
It's
quite a challenge. And it takes reflection. It takes design. Really, it's not that this child automatically becomes, what you see at the very end is created by a whole set of factors. And we've touched on the challenges just a little bit, but I just wanted to hear from your view in the day we are living in today. What do you see as the greatest challenge for parents, and how can they overcome that?
Maybe I can challenge that statement.
Okay.
In terms of, I would like it to see a mission given by God.
Yes.
The moment you access the grace that is necessary for that mission, then there is joy in bringing up those children. And so the emphasis and the dominant outcome of it should be joy.
Joy. Yes.
And you feel that you are happy about that, and you feel fulfilled. There is that level of fulfillment. That's what I would see parenting able to produce.
Okay.
The things that is affecting the parenting today.
Yeah.
Really, I will talk about the external forces.
Okay.
And I'll talk about the issue of the world is changing so much outside there. And it tries to infiltrate into your home, either through the wrong philosophies, and maybe not wrong, but external philosophies. Starting with the definition of what marriage is. Right now, there seems not to be an agreed definition of what marriage is if we go by the scholars of the world. But when you come to the Bible, the marriage is very clear. It's between a man and a woman who are coming to a place of covenant relationship, so that they say we are going to live as a husband and wife. Now, that is our definition. And then the children are supposed to sit on that particular definition. The parenting is supposed to sit on that particular definition. And one of the greatest threats that we have is the external one, where you allow these other voices coming. The voices that are coming on this particular child that you have to compete with. In other words, who will be able to capture the attention of this particular child? You have the first priority. If you miss your chance, then this external world is going to flood this particular child with all kinds of philosophies. And by the time that you are coming to try to bring some correction and what have you, you'll be very late. I have a friend of mine was asking me this question. It's very painful because this is a husband and wife. Yeah. They have done a good job. They are members of the church and what have you. But one day, a girl goes to high school and is leaving Form 4, the secondary school, and is coming home. And the girl feels like, now I have done my Form 4. Yeah. Now I can tell my parents what I want, what I feel. And now the girl is at 18 years. Yeah. because now I have completed my secondary school. Now I need to get my ID. And one of the things that the girl tells the mother is that, listen, me, I don't believe what you believe. I don't believe in the church you go to. Second, I don't believe in the kind of definition of marriage that you have. I also don't believe in all those things. Me, I'm a lesbian. And all those things land on the table of the father. The father is saved, is born again. First of all, doesn't know how even where to start. Do I pick this one? Do I chase her from my home? What do I do?
Yes.
So the first thing they do is, let me call the pastor. So the pastor, they come and say, okay, this man comes and tells, this is the situation that I have.
Yeah.
The first thing I say, okay, fine, but you are late. You are late. The first thing that we need to do is to say we made a mistake. Let's find where did we go a mistake. Let's talk to her. Let's try to see what we can extract from her. Agree with where you are now. Because you have to first of all to start from where she is. And say agree, all those things. I have no problem, but you're still my daughter. It's a place to start to show love. It's okay, you can become anything. It's okay, you are free to become anything. But you know what? You're my daughter. But tell me, how did we land here? Let's talk. Tell me anything. Take her out for dinner or whatever it is. Let her explain to you. This is what, let her tell you everything she doesn't like and what she likes. And you learn a lot of mini lessons. Some of them may be painful. Some of them may be whatever they are. But at that particular time is a time to start a process of winning your daughter back. It's like, well, you have just told me I lost you. You have just told me you are very far from me. But I believe in God. And God is able to get people who are from very far to come home. And therefore, I know now the task I have. I was telling this man, no problem. Let's start by winning this girl. Let's not start by condemning her. Let's not start by thinking she is very bad, because we are not innocent either. Because we may have contributed to her going that way. Maybe we did not present the Christ the way he's supposed to be presented. And therefore, maybe she went further. Who knows? I don't know. But for now, she is the one to tell us. Now that she's talking, let's take advantage of that. Let's be friends. Let's talk to this girl. Let's try to tell her, okay, help us. Where did we go wrong? And they'll tell you. And you start being friends. And by being friends, at that time, listen, where I'm not talking now friendship, where you need, because the girl now doesn't recognize parenting that you have. He's now talking, she's now going to be driven by whoever is able to win her heart. And therefore, we have to go for her heart, which is not with us now. We have to go for that heart. Well, some have succeeded to winning the girl back or the boy back, explaining this and explaining that. And then you have a time and a place now that you can also explain yourself. And you have a place and a platform to discuss and what have you. At that point, you are also using other friends around and people who are around that particular person to help you to win the child back. Some have succeeded. Others, I can assure you, have failed. Because the child has come to a place of accountability and is already determining, this is the kind of a life I want. And at that particular time, we only end up in prayers that God, may you change this particular child. And we see God is never late.
It's never late.
You know, just as I have said that, can God save somebody who is dying on the cross? Who has been doing all kinds of evil around here? But then one day, just at the cross, the guy is saved and goes to heaven. We never know. We come to a place like where God was asking Ezekiel, can these bones live? And you say, God, you know. And therefore, nobody has gone too far that God cannot get you back. But then it will require you to pray and you to ask God for how best do I do it. And not just to blame that particular child who has gone that way. Because the issue is that is the outcome of the parenting. And that parenting may not only be you. Maybe some input in school. Maybe some input by some peers. Maybe part of the input of the environment that this particular child found herself or himself in. And therefore, at that particular time, we now start to talk about corrective corrective kind of a process. Let's correct these things. Something went wrong here. Something went wrong here. Let's see how best we can be able to correct that. And it's not very easy. I can assure you. It's not easy, and it's a place of much tears. When you see your boy or your son or your daughter going that way, is a very painful point of parenting.
Yeah, but I from what you were saying, I've picked that no matter where you are, there's hope.
There is a lot of hope.
And so for a parent out there who would be listening to us and seeing that result that we are talking about, that's not very pleasant, where would you tell them to start?
And allow me to use some practical examples, because I think these practical examples describe many things, because these are some of the issues we have seen. As I said, the starting point is to win.
To win the heart.
The heart of that particular person.
Okay.
And prayer to God, for God to tell you exactly what you need to do. I'll tell you of a situation that was presented to me by a parent. By God's grace, I used to be a principal of a school sometime. Yeah. And I'm a principal in this school. It's for boys and girls. And I have this boy who has been caught smoking bangi in the school. Yeah. They were even planting some bangi somewhere in the school. So they were caught. And this boy is brought to me. And so I called the parents. And the parents come. I mean, they didn't come, only the father came. The mother did not come. So we are sitting in my office, and I'm telling this parent, your son has been caught doing this and this. And the father requests and says, please, no matter what you do, don't suspend this boy to come home. I say, why? He's coming home, he can't be here. He says, don't, because he beats us. Now, if you send him home, you are punishing us. He will come and smoke, and he beats me. He beats the mother. Yeah. So, please see how you can deal with the issue here. So I am here. I'm saved. I'm born again. I was I was an associate minister at that particular time. So I realized this is not a bangi issue. This is a more serious issue that I'm handling. And I told the parent, okay, you go home. Leave this child. And I told the child, we have agreed I will never send you home. Even if you kill anyone, you will never be sent home. So know that. But I'll deal with you. Because of what you have been doing at home. You have been beating your father and mother. And the boy did not deny. And I knew I have to deal with this boy. In this position God has given to me. And I had to pray and ask God, what do I do? Yeah. There is no regulation in the ministry manual to deal with this. But God gave me a wisdom. And I told the boy, I'll treat this as a police case. Okay. That's what came to my mind. Yeah. And God told me, go to the police. Yeah. So I called the OCS, and we agreed. This boy is our son. Yes, he's caught in smoking bangi and all that. Yeah. But this is our son. He's beating the parents. But that does not defy the fact that he's our student. And you look at the boy is good. You look at the boy and say, this is a good boy. And so we agreed with the OCS, we are going to threaten him. And we are telling him, you are going to be taken to court. And you will be sentenced. And you will go to jail. Because there is evidence here.
It's a crime.
It's a crime. And the boy knows that. But we will not charge him. Because we don't want to destroy his life. And you can see love. And you can see aggression. And you can also see all kinds of things mixed together here. And I have to get help from somebody else to explain to him what I'm doing. And so the boy was locked in. And we agreed, don't give him any food. To make sure he is hungry tomorrow morning. Because I want to deal with a hungry boy. In the morning, I came with bread and milk. And the police cell, there is no bread and all those things. Yeah. They say we don't have that facilitation. So I come there in the morning. with the thermos and what have you. And the boy is so happy, sees me as a savior. I'm the principal, but I'm the one coming to see him. And so he is telling me, these people did not give me anything. I say, oh, these people are bad. They are very bad.
Yeah.
What am I doing? I'm trying to get friendship.
Yes.
We did that for 2 days. And he was supposed to be taken to the police and to court. We told him, you are going to be taken to court tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning I came, and we are with the OCS here, and we are with the boy here. And I am telling the boy, I won't talk to the OCS to see whether he can really forgive us and give you a chance. How would you respond when you are given a chance? And you can see the boy says, and swearing with everything he could, that I will never ever repeat this.
Yeah.
True, yes. You will not let me down? Yes, okay. I'll talk to the OCS, see whether he will agree. I don't know whether he will agree, but we'll see what it is.
Yeah.
And so later I came and told the boy, the OCS has agreed that we'll give you a chance. I'll go with you. And if you make any mistake, I'll bring you here. You know, we became friends with that boy. Do you know that boy became one of the most responsible boys? And I remember one time I was in town. I was living in Burumburu. And one day we were to move from Burumburu to come to this side. That was back 1995. And that morning, we had a knock at the door. And we went to check. My wife is the one to check. Oh, there is somebody here who wants to see Mwalimu Njoroge. And so I say, who is this? So I go out and I look at this guy. I don't seem to know him.
Yeah.
I say, do you remember me? I say, I don't seem to remember you. Say, me, I'm so and so. They say, oh, yeah, so and so, yeah. Remind me more. Do you remember the boy you took to the police because of Bangi? I say, yeah, I remember. At that moment, I don't know whether this boy has come to revenge. I don't know whether he has come for what. I don't know. He said, I have really looked for you. Yeah. And I have known you stay here. And so I have come to check on you. I say, yeah, I remember you. Oh, how are you? How are you doing? No, I say, listen, I have come to appreciate you. Yeah. Because now I have done my training, I've done this, and I'm going to Tanzania for a job. And I really want to appreciate you for that. You made me. My parents never made me. You made me the kind of a man I am today. And I felt I should not go before I come and say thank you to you. Thank you. Now, I can't write a book and say that's what you do to every one of them. I can't do that. The principle is very clear. Yeah. Listen to God. What is God telling you? What is there one method and one process that you can take this particular boy or a girl and save him or save her? And God will give you the principle. Yeah. So if I were to pick a principle here, is that listen to what God is saying. And do not judge the boy or the girl because in this particular age they are doing foolish stuff. Listen, that's not the time to judge them. If you write them off because of what they are doing now, I think we will also be unfair, given the package of knowledge that they have. Yeah. I don't think they have come to a place literally to be judged, you know, with finality yes. that this is what they have become. Because that boy now is a good guy. He's in Tanzania. He was going to Tanzania to do all kinds of things. But the point we are saying is, listen to God. What is God telling you? Go to God and ask, how do I deal with this? Yes. And God will give you a direction on the best way that you can be able to do that. And therefore, with all these challenges coming, let's listen to God on what God is going to direct us.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
I think what really stands out is that, one, parenting is stewardship from God. You cannot walk on it alone. God is with you along the journey. And whatever situation you find yourself in as a parent, whatever comes at you, remember that you're walking with God. And at whatever stage you're in, whether you're being challenged, whether you're reaping good results, listen to God. And I think that's among all that we've discussed, one thing that really stands out. So as a parent out there, as a young parent, a parent, let's listen to God. Thank you so much. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.